I like my life all right, but what does it all mean? Observe Ralph the amoeba. Ralph is a one-celled organism that eats stuff, occasionally splits in two, and eventually dies when the puddle dries up. If I were to give Ralph a human brain and allow him to observe his life and reflect, he'd say, Scheiße, other than to eat and make many more me's, there seems no meaning to my life. And even these things, eating and procreating, are just activities. They don't have any inherent meaning. Of course, the punchline is that we humans are Ralph with the big brain. In between Ralph and us is Ollie the dog, who you will remember if you watched my very first ramble. I'm pretty confident Ollie never lost sleep contemplating the meaning of his life. Like Ralph, he was very happy eating and pretend procreating by humping other dogs on the beach. But humans can get a bit stressed about the meaning of life. It bugs us not to know. It bugs us to wake up some mornings and feel completely purposeless and adrift. It bugs us that our brains are sophisticated enough to ponder the question, but not to supply the answer. If life has no meaning, it seems that Ralph and Ollie are perfectly fine. They'll keep going, and we are screwed. So really, the whole problem of the meaning of life would go away and not matter if there were no humans. We invented the need for meaning when we evolved to be big brain. The rest of creation would happily eat, procreate, die. Maybe it's not a real issue. It's all in our heads. Or maybe it's a real thing and we are the only species, on this planet at least, fated to recognize the problem and try to puzzle it out. Or maybe it's all in our head, but also things all in our head, thoughts, are real. So let's puzzle it out. What are we looking for when we fret about meaning of life? We might be looking for some kind of prime meaning, a universal meaning, an integral part of the transcendent grand plan for the universe. The big reveal, something that applies to us and to the Ollies and Ralphs, and perhaps even the rocks and rivers of the world. Doesn't matter that they can't think about it. Or maybe, as I alluded to a bit earlier, prime meaning applies only to species that can conceptualize meaning and its absence. But there's something weirdly audacious and self-aggrandizing about that. We are nothing more than a random bit of the mosaic of all things that happen to evolve in a peculiar way. If meaning applies only to one aspiring, grasping species, then it's hardly universal and not so very prime. If the problem of meaning is specific to thinkers, then today's topic would be, what's unique about thinking, not meaning? Is there any evidence for a prime meaning? I dedicated a previous ramble to science. Can it, or will it, at some time in the future, be able to address prime meaning? I said that the power of science is its foundational dedication to asking questions and answering them by way of methodical verification against real-world evidence, things we can sense and measure. Apply this approach and there is no real-world evidence of prime meaning. You might believe science will be able to supply prime meaning in the future. You could say the thing that people always say about conjecture like this: it can't be disproven. So what? The more important thing is to recognize that you are performing a fact-free extrapolation if you think this will happen. There is no scientific evidence to support the conclusion that science will evolve to uncover prime meaning. To get to that thought, you are not applying scientific observation and inquiry to the question. You are taking a leap of faith. You believe it in the absence of real-world evidence. Ha! Leap of faith. Another topic of a previous ramble was religion. Can it provide prime meaning? In the religion ramble, I said, what makes religion compelling is not real-world evidence, but the taking of a leap of faith. One clear return for investing in the leap of faith is that when you land, there is believable, by definition, because you have taken the leap of faith, believable guidance on the question of meaning of life, serving God, contributing to and meshing with creation, perhaps ironically, taking comfort that even though you may still not understand all, God or the cosmos does. There is a plan. You are part of it. There's a system of expectations of you and rewards for you. And to be clear on this, even if you have not taken a religious leap, you are still a believer. There are leaps of faith we all make in domains other than religion. No one can thrive on real facts alone. So in addition to religion, you can believe as you wish in a prime meaning of life. You can spend time sitting on the beach, casting your eye to the infinite, moving into the now and into synchronization with the prime meaning of everything. But observing others leap from the outside, and that's something we all do because we do not share a complete set of beliefs with everyone else. It seems taking a leap of faith is, or in the best of worlds, should be a personal decision. Some say yes, and others no. Those who say yes will variously do so to many competing belief systems, hardly compatible with something akin to prime meaning. Except, of course, once you've taken the leap, you don't need evidence to support the primacy of your beliefs, because now you are a believer. As I said in the Ramble on Religion, there is no arguing about a leap of faith. You are on one side or the other. Another approach is to say, I've examined the question and I conclude life has no inherent overarching prime meaning. Are you then doomed to existential crisis, to misery, to sleepless nights? Well, clearly not, because taking this viewpoint does not cause a state of crisis in those who hold it. On a good day, this approach feels like freedom. Freedom to be. Freedom to create your own sense of things. Freedom to love or do harm. Freedom to learn. Freedom to make choices. Freedom to make meaning. Freedom not to. Freedom to take your own personal leap of faith and thereby enter the realm of prime meaning anyways, just after you thought you had rejected it. I've already said that we can't live by real-world fact alone. It's not enough. If I conclude there is no prime meaning, then I'm pretty much compelled to substitute something else, something perhaps more modest. I personally find it useful to work with the phrase purpose in life rather than meaning of life, because purpose has a more utilitarian connotation. What am I up to every day? What are my choices of what to do, how to be, how to think? What kinds of impact do I want to have internally and externally? Am I, for example, a creative mind? Yes, we all are. That sets out to fulfill purpose by creating things like these rambles. And so I give myself meaning. This is a complete reversal from the concept of prime meaning. Meaning isn't out there for us to discover. Rather, we are the creators of our own meaning. On a bad day, though, it feels like a huge burden not to wrap oneself in prime meaning. With great freedom comes great self-responsibility. How do I give meaning to my life if none has been provided by the great universe? How does little me fill that vacuum? It's complicated. I could go all the way and conclude there simply is no meaning. We are here to eat and procreate and die, just like Ralph and Ollie. Our big brains are tools to do these things better, not to ask stupid questions. But inescapably, when our big brains are not busy surviving, they use the spare cycles to ask those questions. There is no escape. Our brains demand to know at least a little something about the meaning of life. But what I've tried to suggest in this ramble is that just because there is no readily provided meaning of life, don't mean you can't make up stuff about it. We all make up things. We all believe things. We are creators, and that includes the creation of our very selves. But, as always, don't take it from me. I may believe in all the wrong things. Please think for yourself about meaning in your life.